Good morning, children. Welcome to a new session of geography. Now, in our last videos, we have already started our lesson number 8, How Seasons Occur, part 2. In the last videos, in the two videos, out of which first video we have studied apparent movement of the sun, diurnal apparent movement of the sun, causes of apparent and diurnal movement of the sun, perihelion and aphelion positions of the earth, occurrence of the seasons. Then in video 2 we have studied equinox, circle of illumination, spring or vernal equinox, autumnal equinox. And today we are going to see seasons and the cycle of seasons and the living world, of which a reference video you have already seen yesterday. Now we'll just go through what we have done in our video number 2, the revision. The circle of illumination we have seen. The circle of illumination is an imaginary line which separates light from darkness and day from night. Then we have seen equinox. What is an equinox? Equinoxes are moments when day and night are of equal. Now on the screen you can see that. Okay, children? Then there are two equinoxes every year, in September and March, when the sun shines directly on the equator and the length of day and night is nearly equal. Then, now as I said, there are two equinoxes in March and September, when the sun shines directly on the equator and the length of night and day are nearly equal. Now first is the March equinox and the second one is the September equinox. Okay. Then we have seen solstices. Two solstices, summer solstice and winter solstice. Then at the solstice, the north end of the Earth's axis of rotation is fully tilted, either towards or away from the sun. This we have seen. Because of the tilt, what happens? Because of the tilt, polar regions experience either 24 hours day or 24 hours night. The subsolar point lies on one of the hemispheres at 23.5 degrees north or south. We have seen two solstices, the vernal equinox, when the spring starts, and the autumnal equinox, that is when the trees shed their leaves, that is autumn. Then along with the planets' two annual solstices, the two equinoxes mark the change in seasons, that also we have seen. Now children, you have already studied the temperate zone, torrid zone and frigid zones, that is the zones based on the Now children, you have already studied the temperate zone, torrid zone and frigid zones, that is the zones based on the Now students, you have already studied the three types of temperature zones, the frigid, the temperate and the torrid zone. Okay, and here again on the slide you can see the poles, the Arctic Circle and the Antarctic Circle, and you can also see the Tropic of Cancer just now, which we have seen the temperate zones. The temperate zone in the north, as we know, is called as the Tropic of Cancer, and which lies in the south is called as the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay, now let's move further. Now, when any one of the poles inclines the most towards the sun, 23 degrees 30 inches parallel of that hemisphere receives perpendicular sun rays. See figure 8.4. The sun rays are perpendicular at the equator on 22nd of the March and 23rd of September, which are the days of equinox. After 22nd March, other parallels between the equator and the Tropic of Cancer in the northern hemisphere start receiving perpendicular rays sequentially. Only on 21st June and 22nd December, the sun rays become perpendicular on the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn respectively. And these 2 days are called as the solstice days. Okay. Then the sun rays are never perpendicular on any of the parallels between the Tropic of Cancer and the North Pole, or between the Tropic of Capricorn and the South Pole. 21st June is the longest day and it marks the shortest night in the northern hemisphere. Similarly, 22nd December marks the longest day and the shortest night in the southern hemisphere. 22nd December is the shortest day in the northern hemisphere. Okay, children? Now in the region from the Arctic Circle to the North Pole, the sun remains visible for 24 hours or longer. Now, this kind of a thing is called as the midnight sun or the polar ray. Now, what happens? Midnight sun is when at least a part of the sun's disk is visible above the horizon for 24 hours of the day. The sun, when seen in the middle of the night in summer in the Arctic or Antarctic, is called as the midnight sun or the polar ray. At the North Pole, the sun is visible in the sky from 22nd March to 23rd September for 6 months. Similar situation prevails in the region between the Antarctic Circle and the South Pole in the period from 23rd September to 21st March. Note that on the equator, the duration of day and night is same throughout the year, that is 12 hours each. Now, we are going to see about the polar ray. In the northern hemisphere, the midnight sun starts on the North Pole as the sun rises around the vernal equinox in March. Then there is midnight sun for about 6 months. The sun sets again around autumnal equinox in September, entering 6 months of polar night. Okay, children? Now, let's move further. Seasons have been decided on the basis of the duration of sunlight, equinoxes and solstices. The equatorial region does not experience any change of season. Hence, the climate in that region does not change at all in the year. In places beyond the equatorial region, in either hemispheres, summers or winters are experienced one after the other within a year. The occurrence of seasons one after the other in a year leads to the cycle of seasons. Generally, there are 2 seasons, summer and winter, on the earth. However, in some places, seasons are taken to be 4 in all. There are 2 seasons, summer and winter, on the earth. However, in some places, seasons are taken to be 4 in all. The changes in the atmosphere, vapor in the air, the wind and the precipitation also influences the seasons. Now here they have given you all the things by which seasons are, which cause seasons, by which the seasons are influenced. Continuous occurrence of rain in a specific period gives rise to an additional season besides summer and winter. Due to the local conditions, seasons other than summer and winter are seen to occur in different parts. For example, rains occur in India in a specific period. Therefore, we consider 4 seasons, such as summer, the rainy season, the period of retreating monsoon, and winter. There are 4 seasons in Europe and North America too. They are summer, autumn, winter, and spring. The cycle of seasons and the living world. If the Earth's axis were not tilted, the same climatic conditions would have prevailed throughout the year. The seasons would not have occurred. One and the same type of climatic conditions would have prevailed on each of the different parallels. It is the tilt of the axis that leads to occurrence of seasons, change and diversity on the earth. The living world on the earth is affected by the cycle of seasons. For example, in the region between 66 degrees and 30 minutes and 90 degrees in both the hemispheres, even the mild sunlight available for a part of the year gives rise to certain flora and fauna. In the Antarctic region on the southernmost part of the earth, birds like penguins, fish like seal, and animals like walruses are found. In the polar region of the northern hemisphere, animals like reindeer, polar bears, arctic foxes, etc. are found. People living in this region too have adapted to the natural conditions prevailing in that region. Our adaptation to climatic condition is possible only up to a certain limit. That is why organisms prefer a certain habitat. During extreme cold climatic conditions, when the food supply becomes scarce, a number of birds and animals migrate temporarily. Migrate means they go from one place to another and they come back again. Migration is going from one place to another. Trees bear fruit in a particular season. Therefore, agricultural seasons also depend on to the local climatic conditions. In polar areas, snowline shifts north or south according to seasons. This affects migration of birds and animals. You can see the migratory birds in the slide, children. Now, we are starting with the questions from your textbook. Okay. In figure A, which pole is receiving sunlight? In figure A, the north pole is receiving sunlight. This you can see in the book itself. There is the figure given 8.4 in your textbook also and on the slide also. Then the next question. In figure B, which pole is not receiving sunlight? In figure B, the north pole is not receiving the sunlight. Then you can see three figures here. They are showing the Australia. They are showing Australia. All the three. Now, in the cricket matches, the question asks you, the cricket matches in Australia are generally in summer. When does Australia have summer? Now you can see that Australia lies in the southern hemisphere, and southern hemisphere summer is from 23rd September to 22nd March. So Australia lies in the southern hemisphere and there is summer in Australia from 23rd September to 21st March. This is your answer. Now, in which period is the midnight sun observable in Norway? Which season will there be at that time? Norway lies in the northern hemisphere. You can see in the picture, the first picture. The topmost part is Norway. In the period from 21st March to 23rd September, the midnight sun is observable in Norway. There will be summer in Norway at that time. Okay. Next question. Which hemisphere has the longest daytime on 21st June? The northern hemisphere has the longest day on 21st June. Okay. Then, which hemisphere will have the longest night on 22nd December? Then, which hemisphere will have the longest night on 22nd December? Northern hemisphere will have the longest night on 22nd December. Now, if you see carefully on both the globes, children, this answers you can make out by the shaded part and the enlightened part of the globe. Then, on which date will the Tropic of Cancer receive perpendicular sun rays? On 21st June, the Tropic of Cancer will receive the perpendicular sun rays. Then, considering the position of the North Pole, which season will prevail in the northern hemisphere from 22nd March to 23rd September. If you see carefully in the figures, you can make out that there will be summer season which will prevail from 22nd March to 23rd September in the North Pole. At what time will the midnight sun be visible at the Bharati Research Station of India at Antarctica? What will be the season there at that time? In the period from 23rd September to 21st March, the midnight sun will be visible at the Bharati Research Station of India at Antarctica. At that time, there will be summer. Now, this we have already seen in the midnight day or midnight sun and the polarity. Okay. Question answers that we have done, you are going to write it down in your notebook along with the worksheet question answers that I am going to give you. The worksheet that will be given with this, you are going to copy all the question answers and it in good handwriting in your notebook. I hope you have understood the topic, children. Thank you for watching, and this is your teacher Dipti Kamalwar signing off. Let us meet in the next session of geography. Goodbye until then.